All right, think about the last time a piece of music literally gave you goosebumps, or a brilliantly designed building made you just stop right in your tracks. Today, in this explainer, we are fundamentally shifting how we think about those specific moments. We're going to dive into a totally fascinating framework that completely redefines art. We're moving way beyond the idea of art as just a luxury, some weekend hobby, or merely subjective decoration. Instead, we're looking at how the source material positions art as a strictly vital cognitive tool. Really, an essential piece of civilizational intelligence.
I want to hook you right off the bat with this incredibly provocative thesis from the material. Art is not decoration after intelligence. At its highest, art is intelligence made perceptible. That kind of changes everything, right? It means that when you're taking in a painting, walking through a really intentional public square, or letting a symphony wash over you, you aren't just taking a break from real thinking. You are actually downloading a highly compressed, incredibly dense form of human knowledge. It is the physical, sensory embodiment of an idea.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for the explainer today. We'll start off with the unfinished toolkit, then decode the grammar of meaning and see how we're translating truth into form. After that, we'll weigh the real-world stakes in art as civic infrastructure before wrapping up with designing our future. Let's get right to it.
Starting with Section 1, the unfinished toolkit, exploring the deep history of form and accumulating meaning. Now, it's really crucial to understand that art history isn't just some ladder where we're climbing from primitive to advanced. Instead, think of it as a massive, growing toolkit. Humanity has been slowly assembling these building blocks for a more conscious art over thousands of years. If we trace it back, the prehistoric era didn't just give us cool cave paintings, it gave us our first shared symbolic spaces, basically humanity's earliest hard drives for externalizing our memories and fears. Then, classical antiquity handed us proportion and civic order. The Renaissance completely reorganized our vision around perspective and humanism. Later on, modernism fractured those inherited forms because, well, modern life itself was fracturing. And today, we're in the generative AI era, navigating just massive abundance and totally new interfaces. Each era figures out a piece of a grammar that no single culture has mastered on its own. So the past isn't the ceiling here, it's the toolkit we get to use right now.
So what are we actually using this toolkit for? Well, art operates as a kind of technology to stabilize our inner experiences. Think about your own unconscious mind for a second. All those memories, weird associations, fears, intuitions that are just so hard to put into words. A drawing captures an image. A song preserves a very specific mood. Art basically holds these pre-verbal thoughts long enough so that we can share them, examine them, and return to them. It externalizes what would otherwise completely dissolve inside a single human nervous system.
Which brings us nicely to Section 2, the grammar of meaning. Let's dig into the cognitive mechanics of resonance.
Now, we're not talking about magic here. We're talking about cognitive science, specifically how art hacks our perception. Take Gestalt theory. Your brain is a relentless meaning-making machine. It doesn't passively just soak in isolated lines and colors. It actively organizes them into a face, a landscape, a structured whole, almost instantly. As the psychologist Rudolf Arnheim pointed out, visual perception itself is already a form of intelligence. The exact second your eye takes in a shape, it's already abstracting and organizing. Aesthetics literally tell your body how to orient itself toward the world, way before your conscious mind has even formed a single sentence about it.
So how is this actually working on the brain? Neuroaesthetic research gives us some really fascinating answers. It balances order and stimulation. It operates before explanation, sure, but absolutely not beneath intelligence. Deeply moving art actually fires up the brain's default mode network. That's the exact same system that lights up when you're daydreaming, reflecting on who you are, or searching for meaning in your life. It creates this resonance, this flash of recognition, where an outer form just perfectly matches an inner reality you couldn't quite articulate. It reorganizes our attention and gives real dignity to our most complex feelings. Now, what's really interesting about this is how relational meaning is. It's never just one hidden message to decode. It operates on multiple layers simultaneously. You've got the immediate sensory feel, how it physically hits your eye or ear. You've got the symbolic layer, fitting into cultural signs. The contextual layer, tying it to a specific history. The institutional layer, because let's be honest, seeing an image in the Louvre hits way differently than seeing that exact same image scrolling on your phone, right? And finally, the existential layer, which discloses these profound human truths about grief or power or possibility. Truly great art condenses all these layers into one cohesive little world. Let's transition over to Section 3, translating truth into form. The artist as translator and crystallizer.
Let's move to and see how this builds into what the source material calls the cultural sequence. Here's how it flows. Step 1, philosophy clarifies what is true. Step 2, communication makes that truth intelligible. It puts it into plain, understandable language. But step 3 is where it gets real. Art gives that truth a sensory body to be remembered and desired. A society's values are actually incredibly fragile if they just live in academic papers or speeches. The artist acts as the translator, taking those structural ideas from the thinkers and giving them a transmissible body that the public can actually feel.
Just look at this stark contrast between telling someone something and showing them. A written argument says, a just society is beautiful. Okay, sure, you nod your head, you agree logically. But in artwork? An artwork lets you step inside that concept. It lets you feel a just society as a physical lived space. It turns it into a public ritual or paints a picture of a possible childhood. It bridges that massive gap between an abstract claim and a genuinely felt reality. Which lands us at a really urgent modern crossroad in Section 4. Art as civic infrastructure. Shared imagination versus aesthetic capture.
So here's the dangerous part. The exact same power that lets art preserve truth, it works just as well for preserving lies. The source outlines this massive danger of aesthetic capture. This happens when aesthetic force totally bypasses your critical thinking to just install moods and lies directly into your brain. Think slick propaganda or the endless hypnotic scroll of algorithmic feeds. It can literally make emptiness look glamorous and make submission feel like you're part of a community. Thinkers like Guy Debord and Walter Benjamin warned us about this decades ago. They pointed out that spectacle can easily replace real structural change, and that people might be offered aesthetic expression instead of actual rights. And today, with generative media, we face this whole new risk of drowning in beautiful surfaces that have absolutely zero human intention behind them.
The counterweight to that danger is civic art. And we're not just talking about plunking a bronze statue in a park and calling it a day. Civic art is about the shared symbols, spaces, and rituals that define what a society can actually feel together. Because a functioning society can't survive purely on bureaucratic rules. It desperately needs a shared imagination. Civic art humanizes cold institutions. It makes justice culturally legible, so it actually feels like justice when you walk into a building.
I mean, the stakes here are so high. Think about this. Public infrastructure without aesthetic care teaches citizens that shared life is supposed to be ugly. That is a heavy thought. An absence of civic art basically tells people, day in and day out, that nothing we hold in common is actually worth loving or defending. Civic art is not some cultural cherry on top. It is vital public infrastructure. All right, let's head into our final section, designing our future. How do we use art as a rehearsal space for possible worlds?
You know, you really can't organize toward a future that you can't picture or feel. So in that sense, real utopian art is absolutely not escapism. It is a rehearsal. It takes the word maybe and turns it into a vivid image. It takes the concept of justice and builds it into a city you can walk around in your mind. It literally gives the future the sensory evidence we need to believe it's actually achievable.
But, and this is a big but, strong utopian art can't just be a pretty, flawless paradise. It has to be structurally intelligent. To paint a picture of a future that actually works, artists have to grapple with conflict, institutions, and systemic failures. A structurally intelligent utopia means visualizing ecological repair right alongside intelligent infrastructure. It means putting restorative justice right next to technological wisdom and a deep democratic imagination. And yes, it absolutely requires beauty. It's asking the hard question, what actually makes freedom durable across generations? To pull this off, artists have to collaborate. They need to sit down with the philosophers, the scientists, and the systems thinkers of our time. Together, they create this metaphorical keyhole. It's a lens through which everyday people can peek into the tangible possibilities of a better world. They're taking the most valuable ideas of our time and injecting them into art to show what a new culture genuinely feels like. Because ultimately, synthesizing science, philosophy, and aesthetics into a vivid and habitable reality, well, that is exactly how a civilization learns what it is trying to become. All that accumulated art from our past, that was just the preliminary toolkit. Our job right now is to pick up those tools and carry whole civilizational futures forward.
Which leaves us with a pretty profound responsibility. Art is how our insights become our inheritance and how our abstract values turn into lived culture. The tools are right there, waiting for us. So I'll leave you with this one question to chew on. What world will you make visible? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it completely changes how you see the design, the spaces, and the art that you interact with every single day.